Now, let's look through the various different types of assets that you can create in UE4. Go up to the Content Browser tab, and let's just go to Game, and we'll create a new folder. We'll call this Tutorial. In this tutorial, you can click on Create, or you can right click, and you can see all the different things you can create. So first of all, there is a blueprint, which, if you read the description, it's an asset that can have code in it, and can consist of various different components, which can be static meshes, splines, collision meshes, anything. And then you have code in the blueprint or blueprint scripting, visual scripting, to control what that blueprint does. Then there's a level, which is a level, it's obvious. A material, which is which is what you apply to static meshes to make them look how they look. And a material, you make materials in UE4 via the visual materials creation tab, which allows you to input textures and colors and size, anything you want, and you can make a material out of it and you can apply it to any mesh you want. Particle system, you should know that it emits particles which have their own materials on them, and you can make fire, you can make rain, you can make anything you want. Anyway, now we'll look through the advanced assets. We have animation, aim offset, which is used for if you've got a third-person game, a third-person shooter, then you can have the aim offset to make your player look in the direction that you're looking in without actually turning the whole player, and without an animation. And then there's aim offset 1D, which is for one dimension. Animation blueprint, which is it's what controls how animations work. So if you want the player to be walking when they're on the ground, then you would make it that if the player is grounded, then walk. If they're in the air, then play the falling animation. That's how you control it. Animation composite, it's how you composite animations. Animation montage, it's just a way of combining lots of animations. Animation sequence, it's a similar thing to montage. Blend space, it's a way of controlling how animations blend together. Blend space 1D, one-dimensional version. And a sprite flipbook is how you create animations out of a bunch of different sprites. We have blueprints, so we have a standard blueprint. A blueprint function library, which contains a lot of functions that you can use in other blueprints. So it's just a way of storing functions that you can put on lots of blueprints. We have blueprint interface, which is a way of having blueprints be able to interact with each other. Blueprint macro library, which contains macros that can be used in other blueprints. Macros are similar to functions, but they are different in some ways. An enumeration, or enum, this is a list of named values that can be set. So if you have like a number, like the age of the person that you can choose for a game can either be like 20 or 40, you'd have an enum. So you can choose. So you click on it and you can choose between the different ages or numbers you set, and you can use that for any type of variable. Then we have a structure, which is it's a way of making modular systems in UE4. So in a structure you can have a structure which has a name, an ID, and a mesh, and you can use that for how, like, an item if you had an inventory system or something like that. And then we have materials and textures. So a cube render target, this is you can use it for rendering, so you can make a like a reflection throughout the scene with it. Material, already went through that. Material function, it's a material. It's exactly the same as material, except it doesn't actually output anything itself. You can put it into an actual material, and you can use it as like a material within a material. Material instance, which is an instance of a material, which means that if you have every time you edit a material and you save it, it has to compile it. But if you have if you in the material you have parameter values, it means that when you compile it, you can create an instance of that material, and you can edit those values that you've set as parameters in real time without any compiling. So you can change it and you can watch what it looks like in the actual editor itself. Material parameter collection, it's a collection of parameters. A media texture, it's an animated texture, so with a video or something like that. A render target, this can be used if you have a camera or something. You can render what the camera sees to a texture, and you can, if you wanted a TV or something, or like a TV screen that was showing what like a security camera could see, you could use a render target. And a subsurface profile, this is for subsurface scattering. A profile, you can you can create many of them, so you can have one for skin, one for liquid. So you can have presets for how subsurface scattering works in material. Sounds, dialogue, voice audio. Dialogue wave, it's a wave dialogue. Media sound wave, and it's a playable sound asset that streams audio. Reverb effect, it adds reverb to an area. Sound attenuation, it defines how volume changes with distance to the listener, so you can have that as a preset instead of having to set it per audio. A sound class, it's a class of sound. A sound cue, this controls the behavior of audio playback. And a sound mix, so it's a sound mixer. Physics, we have a physical material which you apply it to a mesh, and it controls how physics objects will interact with that mesh. Use interface, we have a font, which is you just have a font and you can import a font. A slate brush, this is used for well, actually at the moment it's not currently used, but for UMG you can have a slate brush. So this is this can be used as a brush inside UMG. We'll cover UMG in a later tutorial, so you'll understand what that means then. A slate widget style, still currently not used, or at least it wasn't the last time I tried it. It's a style for how a certain type of widget in a widget blueprint works. And a widget blueprint is an actual Unreal Motion Graphics UMG asset, so you can make that appear on the screen. And we have miscellaneous behavior tree. This is commonly used for AI. You don't have to use it for AI, but it's a very many people find it very useful for AI because you can just put behavior and it's very good. Use it for other things as well, of course, but it's generally used for AI. A blackboard, it's a table of values kind of, which is used for behavior trees. Camera anim, it's an animation on a camera. A curve, it's obvious, a curve. Data asset, contains data. Data table, it's a bunch of data assets. Force feedback effect, it says it there, it's for a controller, for rumble in a controller. Matinee data, it's matinee data, which is currently UE4's scene animation tool, so explained. Media player, implements a media play asset that can play movies and other media. Object library, it's a library of objects. A sprite, which is you have a texture and you can extract a sprite from a texture, which means you can use it with Unreal Engine 4's inbuilt Paper 2D 2D system. And you can make a sprite flipbook out of many sprites to make an animated sprite. A tile map, it's a map of tiles. Yeah. Touch interface setup, it's a setup for an interface for touch. So if you had it on a phone or something and you wanted a joystick or something like that, you'd use that. A tutorial blueprint. UE4 has inbuilt tutorials, so when you first launch UE4, it will probably come up with a tutorial, and you can exit it or whatever. But you can create your own tutorial. So if you're releasing an asset to someone else, you can make a tutorial for that asset. But anyway, that concludes this UE4 tutorial. So if you want to learn more about UE4, then please join me next time.